Welcome. Today, we are going to learn the startup procedures of the JF-17 Thunder. While experienced pilots usually modify the startup sequence, in order to do some steps in parallel to save time, we will use the standard sequence described on deck as user's manual. Once ready, press spacebar to continue. First, we will start with some pre-flight checks. We won't be doing all the steps of the checklist, only those that actually require action on your part. Press spacebar to continue. If it's dark, turn on the flashlight, with left Alt+L, or click on the flashlight at the rear of the right console. Press spacebar to continue. On your HOTAS, check that the speed brake switch is on the closed position. Press spacebar to continue. On the left side wall, open the oxygen valve. By turning it counter on the up front control panel, turn these knobs to their mid position: HUD contrast knob, HUD brightness knob, and UFCP brightness knob. Next, let's check the audio control panel, on the right console, and turn up the COM1, COM2, TACAN and MSL volumes. The next step is important. To prevent overheating of the avionics equipment, on the environment control panel turn the mode selector to the norm position. If you start up the Thunder in the dark, you may need to set up the cockpit lights. Since it is daylight, turn on the external lights. Set external master to norm. Set formation lights to 3. Set NVG anti-collision to 3. Set position lights to bright and flash. Set anti-collision to on. Okay, the pre-flight checks are finished. Now we will proceed to the before engine start steps. Press spacebar to continue. First, let's power up the aircraft's electric system. On the electric panel, at the right console, battery switch to BAT, AC generator switch to AC gen, DC generator switch to DC gen. Next, on the avionics activation panel, AAP, you can turn on individual systems as needed. However, this time we will press on the CMBT button to simultaneously enable those used for combat. Now, wait for the mission computer bit test to finish, on the UFCP. After it has finished, select nav mode on the HOTAS, or press the 1 key.
Warning. Warning.
The bit test has finished.
Warning.
Remember to select nav mode, as this will place default pages on all the displays. Once done, press spacebar to continue. Warning, audio is a bit noisy. You can press the master caution button to mute it.
Warning.
On the miscellaneous panel, at the left console, switch emergency hydraulic pump to on. Switch SHARS, strap down heading attitude reference system, to on. On the left multifunction display, the FE's, electronic flight instruments system, page, shows a blinking SHARS align message. At the end of the alignment, the message will disappear and the horizontal lines of the audio will appear. The alignment takes around 1 minute. The aircraft should not be moved during this period, but you can continue with the rest of the procedure while the alignment takes place. Press spacebar to continue. On the up front control panel, press the DST button. On its top display, we need to replace the DST00 values with the current coordinates of our plane. You can get the coordinates from the kneeboard. Use right shift plus K to open the kneeboard. Press the spacebar once the kneeboard is visible. We will now edit the latitude value. Click on the arrow next to its display. Once you see a cursor blink, use the UFCP keypad to enter the 7 digits of the latitude value that is on the kneeboard. Once done, click the arrow button again to apply the input. If you make a mistake during the data input, click on the RTN button to cancel the edit, and try again. Press space. We will now edit the longitude value. Click on the arrow next to its display. Once you see a cursor blinks, use the UFCP keypad to enter the 8 digits of the longitude value that is on the kneeboard. If it's less than 100 degrees, then the first digit must be a 0. Once done, click the arrow button again to apply the input. Press spacebar once the longitude has been entered. We will now edit the altitude value. Click on the arrow to the right of its display. Once you see a cursor blinks, use the UFCP keypad to enter the 5 digits of the altitude value that is on the kneeboard. You must enter any leading zeros. Once done, click the arrow button again to apply the input. Press spacebar once the altitude has been entered. Hide the flight stick by clicking on its base. This will good. Now on the central MFCD, select its main menu page by clicking on the central button of its bottom border. Now, select the INS page, but good. Now that the DST-00 waypoint contains the proper coordinates for our aircraft, we will initiate the alignment by turning the INS knob, on the right console, to the fast position. On the central multifunction display, the INS page shows the remaining time until the end of the alignment. Before the alignment ends, you have to enter the THDG, true heading, field, by pressing on the MFD button pointed by the arrow. Good, now enter the heading shown on the kneeboard, by pressing on the buttons corresponding with the digits 0 to 9, press spacebar to continue. Now, wait for the alignment to end, and then turn the INS knob again, this time to the nav position. While you wait, close the kneeboard by pressing right Shift plus K. Press spacebar to continue. OK, the next step of the procedure is to load the data transfer cartridge, DTC, on the slot at the right console. This cartridge contains data for navigation, armament, electronics warfare, etc. Click on the slot once, to place the cartridge. Click on the cartridge again, to load it onto the reader. Once properly inserted, the left MFCD will automatically show the DTC page, with the DTC locked message across it. Press spacebar to continue. On the left MFCD, click Alt to select all the data contained on the cartridge. Now, click ENT to load the cartridge contents onto the mission computer. The loading process lasts several seconds, during which the message DTC trans will be shown. Once the loading is finished, the message DTC locked will appear again. Press spacebar to continue. We will now check the ejection seat and oxygen mask. Move the ejection seat handle, to the left of the seat, downwards onto the armed position. Connect the mask oxygen line to the tube on the right front console. The light oxygen blink should be blinking, confirming that the oxygen mask is working properly. Remove the safety pin on the seat base, by clicking on it. OK, now we will turn on the VHF-UHF radio. On the left console, on the COM panel, set the radio mode dial to TR, transmit receive, or TR plus G, TR plus guard reception. Well done. We have completed all the steps, of the before starting the engine section, of the startup procedure. Press spacebar to continue. Before starting the engine, we need to contact the air traffic controller, ATC, and request permission to start up. We will begin by tuning the COM1 radio to the ATC frequency. Usually the frequency will be stated on the mission briefing, but if not, we can determine it by checking the map, pressing the F10 key. Today we are at Senaki Kolki Air Base, and its ATC frequency is 132 MHz. Press spacebar on the kneeboard, that we can open with right Shift plus K. There is a table where we can look up which radio preset is set to each frequency. You can page the kneeboard forward and backwards with the left and right bracket keys. Page forward twice, and the page titled Preset Channel Freak should appear. There, we can see that the preset 049 is set to Senaki's ATC frequency. Press spacebar to continue. On the UFC panel, click on the RTN button, to make sure that we are at the Now, click on the arrow button next to the COM1 display. The remaining displays will show the current radio parameters of COM1. Click on the arrow again, to edit the selected preset of COM1. Once you see a cursor blink, use the UFCP keypad, to enter the desired preset, on this case 049. Once done, click the arrow button once more, to apply the input. Press spacebar. OK, now that the radio is tuned to Senaki's ATC, click on the HOTAS COM1 button and the communications menu should appear on the screen. Click on F5 to select ATC. Next click on F1 to select Senaki, and finally click on F3 to request permission to start up. After a few seconds, ATC should answer. Press F12 to close the communications menu, once you have been granted the permission. Press spacebar to continue. We will now proceed to start the engine. On the engine control panel, at the left console, switch the fuel pump to start pump, switch engine control to on. Now, click on the idle stop lock, on the throttle quadrant. This will advance the throttle into the idle position. Do not advance the throttle beyond idle. Next, left-click, and hold the button Start GND. Once the N2 indicator, on the bottom of the left MFCD, begins to read over 0, release the button and press the spacebar to continue. Next, monitor the engine performance indicator, MP1, page. N2 show the high-pressure turbine RPM. The engine starts at around 10% N2. When reaching 60%, the hydraulic pump will activate and the alert high-low will go off. At idle, N2 will reach 70%. T4 shows the turbine inlet temperature. It should stabilize at under 500 degrees Celsius. Press spacebar to continue. Once the engine is running, we will proceed to check the hydraulic system. Click on the EPI1 button, to change the display over to the EPI2 page. With the engine on idle and the control stick centered, the hydraulic reading on the EPI2 page should exceed 2,900 psi, the reading diminishes if we move the stick. Cycle the speed brake. On the HOTAS, the Alert SB, speed brake, should lit on the landing gear status display. With the brakes on park, the brake pressure should be over 1,350 psi. Change brakes to norm and press the brake pedals. Now the pressure should be around 2,750 psi. Remember to return the brake switch to park. Press spacebar to continue. On the next step, we will check the flight control system, FCS. First, check on the warning panel that all the FCS alert lights are off. Next, configure the FCS panel to match the armament loaded. Switch AA, AG. Set to match the loaded weapons. Switch AG1, AG2. Set to AG1 for air-to-ground weapons without wing fuel tanks, or AG2 if external wing fuel tanks are loaded. If these switches are wrongly set, the config alarm will lit on the warning panel. Readjust the switches until the alarm is gone. Press spacebar to continue. Now, press the bit button on the FCS panel, to perform the FCS bit test. While the test runs, the message FCS bit shows up on the HUD. You can press F2 to switch to external view. You will be able to see the flight surfaces being exercised. Press F1 to return to the cockpit. At the end of the test, if no faults are found, the message will disappear. Press spacebar to continue. Next, we will check the control surfaces. On the left MFCD, click on its menu button. Now, click on the data button. Next, click on the FCS button. Now, click on the SPCHK button. Good. Now you can move the stick and rudders and compare them to the MFCD diagram to confirm proper operation. Press spacebar to continue. On the next step, we will check the Emergency Flight Control System, FCS, by placing the EFCS switch on the EFCS position. Good. Now verify the following. On the status panel, at the top right of the front panel, the EFCS light illuminates. On the warning panel, the FCS1, FCS2 and FCS3 lights blink. The alerts roll CAS and yaw CAS blink too. Once you finish the check, place the EFCS switch back onto the auto position. OK, the next step on the sequence is, turn on the IFF system. To do this, on the UFCP click the RTN button to bring up its main page. OK, Now click the IFF button. We can choose between simplified IFF or realistic IFF. For simplified, click the arrow next to M1, M2 or M3A. Once selected, the trailing minus sign will turn into a plus sign. For realistic, click the arrow next to M6. Press spacebar to continue. Now, click on the arrow to configure the IFF transponder. The top display will show TRS. Just like you did for the IFF interrogator, for simplified IFF click the arrow next to M1, M2 or M3A. For realistic, click the arrow next to M6. Good, the IFF system is now correctly set up. Next, we will connect our aircraft to the data link network of our coalition. Press spacebar to continue. On the UFC panel, click on the RTN button. To make the data link communication is done off the COM2 radio, when it is tuned to the special channel 199. So, click on the arrow button next to the COM2 display. Press spacebar to continue. The data link mode is currently set to slave. Click on the arrow next to it, to change into master mode. Finally, click on the arrow next to NE- to actually connect to the network. The display will change to NES, on successful connection to the data link network. Press spacebar to continue. The last step of the startup is closing the canopy. Click the canopy handle at the right cockpit wall to begin the canopy retraction. Press spacebar once the canopy is fully down. Click the canopy handle again to inflate the canopy seal. Press spacebar when finished. Well done, you have completed this training session on how to perform a cold start of the JF-17 Thunder. You may now press the escape key and exit the training.